Welcome to Joe's Knows NFL episode 7. We're going to be going over a lot of stuff today. We got 4 segments for you. Overreactions, top 5, buy low, sell high, and a week 5 picks. Panel today with Matt Freeman, Will Kukowski, Giacomo Imperiale, Dom Rafina, Richie Zangara, and of course me, Jack Kemmler. We're going to start off with our rapid fire picks. But before we get into them, we have our standings after 4 weeks of picking the games. Will is at first with 56%, picking them correctly. Tied in second, Matt and Rich, 53. I'm in fourth with 52. Dom, not the greatest, 45%. And, of course, in last is Giacomo Imperiale with 40%, low average. Let's see if you can maybe you can have a better day today. We'll start off. And then one of our game of the weeks this week is 2-2 Jaguars at the 3-1 Bills playing in London at 9:30 a.m. Matt, if you want to start it off.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Jags here in a bit of an upset. They're staying in London from last week's game in London. They're going to be there all week. They did not fly back home. They're going to be in their routine. They've had a full week of practice in London. They're used to the time change. There's no travel day. And all of that is really big, especially on professional athletes' body. It goes very under the radar. So I think that's going to play a huge part. The Bills are playing without Tre'Davious White, season-ending injury. This is going to be their first full game without him. So we'll see how that works. And they really don't have anyone to check Calvin Ridley. Tre'Davious White was their guy, was their lockdown corner, and him being out for the year is a huge shift for their defense. And then lastly, Doug Peterson's Jags, they tend to start slow and then finally hit their groove. So I think they're going to pick it up as we get into the season.
Yeah, and Matt, speaking about Calvin Ridley, he's not even the wide receiver I'm really worried about. I'm not really impressed with what I've seen exactly coming out of camp. Very excited with Calvin Ridley. Not exactly what I was hoping to see, but Christian Kirk is a guy who I've seen stand out a lot. And besides all that, I'm still going to have to take Buffalo. You know, I do like Jacksonville. They basically are London's team playing there so frequently. But I still have to go with Buffalo here. Coming off a huge win against a really solid team. We're going to see the Dolphins probably in some guys' top 5s. They're still a really good team, but that Buffalo team, even without Trey White, looks dominant.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with Matt here. I'm going to take the Jags in the upset pick as well. I think Trevor Lawrence is just due for an absolute monster 300 passing yard game. I think he's really just about to hit his stride soon. I think Matt's point he brought up of this Jags team, it takes a little bit for them to get going. And once they get hot, no one can beat them. I'm going to really agree with him there. I think that this Jags team and Calvin Ridley really can turn it on as these later weeks come. And I think this is going to be the start of a big win for the Jags this week.
Yeah, I agree with Will here. Give me the Bills. Jags off to a slow start, haven't shown me anything special. And the Bills have been balling right now. Last week beat one of my favorite teams in the league, the Dolphins, and I think they keep it rolling.
Yeah, I agree with Matt and Guac here. Jacksonville seems to be London's team. They've obviously won a lot of games in London, and for those reasons, I'm gonna take the Jags in the upset.
Yeah, I think everybody took my points. I'm gonna take the Jaguars as well, especially because they're London's team and they're staying there. Now they're not jet lagged like the Bills coming into this game. Now moving on to our rapid fire picks: the 2-2 Texans at the 2-2 Falcons. Matt, you can go first.
CJ Stroud, I'll take the Texans.
Yeah, I'm going to back Matt here. I'm going to take the Texans too.
Falcons' downfall is for real. Give me the Texans.
Yeah, Texans surprised me. Give me the Texans.
Texans.
Yeah, I'm taking the Texans here, especially with my dislike of Arthur Smith. Moving on to the 0-4 Panthers at those 3-1 Detroit Lions.
I'll take the Lions, but the Panthers might keep this sneaky close.
All right, and I'll take the Lions here in this one.
Yeah, Matt, I'm going to agree and disagree. I'm going to take the Lions, but I don't think the Panthers are going to keep this close at all.
Yeah, I got Lions by a lot.
I got Lions too.
Yeah, Bryce Young with a very slow start of the season. Considering benching him, I'm also taking the Lions here. The 2-2 Titans with the 2-2 Anthony Richardson Colts.
I'll take the Colts at home.
I'll take the Colts at home.
I will agree with Will. I'll take the Colts at home as well.
Yeah, I'm taking the Colts. I think Jonathan Taylor's a big game.
Colts have been looking sharp. Take them at home.
Yeah, big storyline there is Jonathan Taylor is back as a sweep for the panel, all going to the Colts. All right, then we have the 1-3 New York Giants at the 3-1 Dolphins. I think we know the outcome of this one.
Yeah, I'll take the Dolphins.
Yeah, I'll take the Dolphins here.
Pains me to say it, but I will take the Miami Dolphins at home.
Yeah, best offense in the league. Give me the Dolphins.
Dolphins.
That's a sweep for us again. Dolphins beating the Giants there. Now the 2-2 Saints at the New England Patriots.
I'll take the Saints.
Yeah, I'm going to write the Saints here.
I'm going to disagree with the first two. I'm going to take Mac Jones for a bigger step up in a big game. I think Belichick and his boys are going to be right on time. Again, Christian Gonzalez is out. Doesn't really affect me. I'm still going to take the Pats at home.
Yeah, no, give me the Saints.
I'm going to agree with Glock. I'm going to take the Pats at home.
Yeah, I think Mac Jones doesn't have a good first half, and then Bailey Zapp comes in and wins this game for the Patriots at home. Now the 3-1 Ravens versus those 2-2 Steelers.
I'll take the Ravens. The Steelers look like an absolute dumpster fire.
Yeah, it's the same old, same old. I mean, the Steelers will probably end up winning 9 games this year, yes, but I mean, this is a Ravens game.
I disagree. I like the Steelers at home. Lamar Jackson just does not do it for me. I'm not a fan of this Ravens team, and I think that Kenny Pickett still has a lot left to prove, and I think he's going to have a big game against this Ravens team.
Yeah, I agree with Guac here. Give me the Steelers. Division rivalry at home. They always have beat them. And we'll keep it rolling. Always will.
Dom, we beat you in your house last year. I mean, this series is always a split. It's going to be like 10-7. I'm going to take the Steelers at home for this one.
Forgot about that. That was between you two. I'm going to take the Ravens here. I do not like what I've seen out of Kenny Pickett to start the season. And moving on to the 1-3 Bengals and the 1-3 Cardinals. Is not expecting this out of Cincy. We'll see if they can bounce back here.
Yeah, I think the Bengals will bounce back.
It's kind of foolish to still think the Bengals are going to bounce back. I know it's eventually going to happen, but I'm going to take the Cardinals here at home.
I'm going to agree with Will. It's officially Josh Dobbs' season. He's going crazy. Give me the Cardinals at home.
Yeah, give me the Cardinals.
Give me the Cardinals here. If the Bengals lose this, I think that they're finished.
Yeah, I mean, there's a big question going around that people think that Zach Taylor is one of the worst coaches in the league, and you can definitely see why with how he's been coaching this team the first 4 games. But I'm going to be taking the Bengals here. I don't think the Cardinals is going to stop those receivers, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase. Now with the 4-0 Eagles still undefeated throughout the season, going to LA versus the Rams.
I'll take the Eagles, but very close.
Yeah, the Eagles are still, not really putting together, but they're still a really dominant team. I'm going to take the Eagles here.
Jack, can we throw up the spicy guac take for right now? I'm ready for it. I think that the fraud Eagles are going to lose by double digits to the Rams on the road this week. I think that Matt Stafford is going to have a huge game, and this fraud Eagles team is going to be exposed. Give me the Rams by double digits.
Goodness gracious.
I feel bad.
I don't know where you
mean,
get these. Like,
That's unbelievable. I really don't know how you get to that.
I was thinking. I was thinking about taking the Rams, but now that he just said that, I'm taking the Eagles.
Wow, that's bad.
I think that the Eagles are going to finally hit their stride this week. I think that they are going to obliterate this weak Rams team.
Weak.
Yeah,
Yes, very weak.
I do want to remind you guys, Guac is last for 40%. So if you're picking games with your friends, don't go with Guac. I would listen to anybody else on the panel. And now moving on to the 1-3 Jets at the 1-3 Denver Broncos.
I'm going to take the Jets. Zach Wilson looked really good.
Yeah, I mean, Zach Wilson looked really good. I'm not relying on that, but I'm still going to see the Jets on the road here.
I'm going to take the home field advantage. I'm going to take a Broncos win behind a big rushing game from Javonte Williams.
Javonte Williams might not even play, but I'm still taking the Broncos here. I don't have a lot of faith in Zach Wilson after only doing good for the second half of the game.
Yeah, obviously going to be patient with Zach Wilson, but give me the Jets here. That defense has been very good against good offenses.
Yeah, I don't expect Broncos to score basically any points against the Jets, and Zach Wilson has looked better. I expect a blowout here out of the Jets. And moving on to the 3-1 Chiefs at the Minnesota Vikings.
I'm going to take the Minnesota Vikings in a shocking upset in Minnesota.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Because I couldn't agree. It's actually a terrible take. Yeah, the Chiefs are going to steamroll the Vikings.
I mean, between Matt and Dom in the past 2 weeks, I don't know what's a bigger joke. The fact that they have a chance to win this game or the fact that they're making the Super Bowl, if we can cut to that. But I mean, it's an absolute joke. This Vikings team is terrible. I'm going to take the Chiefs by a big blowout.
I actually have a script for this game. Taylor
Oh,
Swift has been in every single game that they've won, or most of the games that they've won. I don't think she's gonna come to Minneapolis.
It's confirmed she's not
Give me
going, but I might cut this
okay,
out because I hate Taylor
you know,
Swift.
then give me the Vikings easily. She's their good luck. She's the Chiefs' good luck charm. I think Jefferson could go for over 152 touchdowns. It's a big day for the Vikings.
Kind of stole my line. I'm gonna take the Vikings here at home.
Yeah, I don't expect Patrick Mahomes to have back-to-back bad games. I think he's going to rip on these Vikings. And for the game of the week here, I have the 3-1 Cowboys at the 4-0 Niners. This one could be the game of the year we have setting up here. Matt, if you want to go first.
Yeah, in my opinion, I will get to it a little later. I think these are the two best teams in the NFL. I'm going to take the Cowboys in a tight game. I think Purdy's going to make some key mistakes against a very scary Cowboys defensive front.
Yeah, I probably could agree with Matt. In some ways, these are definitely two of the top teams without a doubt. And I really think the defense is what is sticking out for both teams. I think San Francisco actually wins the defensive battle. Missing Trayvon Diggs in secondary is a pretty big hit for Dallas. I know they still do have guys like, Stephon Gilmore. Their safeties have been very elite so far this season. And, of course, they have Micah Parsons and Dexter Lawrence coming off the edge. But I really do like how the San Francisco defense is played. Of course, both offenses are elite, but I think San Francisco home field advantage. I think they take it here.
yeah, I'm going to agree with Will here very immensely. This Cowboys team just lost the Cardinals. I mean, they're definitely a lot better than people expected. But this Cowboys team is another joke of a team in the NFC East. I mean, the whole division is fraudulent, even the Giants included. The whole division is fraudulent. I mean, this Cowboys team is not that great. The Niners, I think, are very, very top of the league in every category. So I'm going to take the Niners at home.
Before we move on, I just want, that might be the worst take I've ever seen in my entire life. The Cowboys are fraudulent? In what way?
They lost to the Cardinals.
Wait, we'll get to it. We'll get to it.
Oh, my goodness gracious. All right.
I'm gonna have to agree with Matt here. The Niners haven't played any very good teams. They have played very well and have destroyed them all. But I'm gonna take the Cowboys with this one.
Yeah, the Cowboys also haven't played very good teams. I mean, I think that these teams are very evenly matched on both sides of the ball. I am going to take San Francisco here at home, pretty much just because of that Trayvon Diggs injury. I think that's going to be huge.
Richie, you stole what I was saying. I don't like how the Cowboys haven't really versed the greatest competition to start off the season, a malnourished Jets team and a Giants team that wasn't good those first two games. And Brock Purdy has not lost a regular season game. That's not something I want to go away from and just not pick him in this game. So I'm taking the Niners here. Moving on to our Monday Night Football last game, the 2-2 Packers at the 1-3 Raiders. I believe Jimmy Garoppolo is playing this one.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Raiders here. I think just too much firepower on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, I do like the Raiders. I like Jimmy Garoppolo so far. Come back from injury. I think he's having a good game here, but I still do really like what I've seen from Jordan Love and what I will see, I believe, to come from the young rookie. I think he's an elite quarterback. I think, he will continue to progress and become a very elite quarterback in a very good system for quarterbacks. And I think that he's going to have a very good game against a secondary that's not, very, very good against the pass.
I'm going to take the Packers by double digits on the road. This Raiders team is just atrocious. They're not good. I mean, I've loved what I've seen out of Jordan Love and this high-powered offense. So I'm all over the Packers this weekend. I really don't think it's going to be close either. I think Jordan Love's going to have a monster game.
I mean,
every time I look over, I see Guac shaking his head. But give me the Raiders. Even if Garoppolo plays or not, I still think they're taking this one.
Although, Glock, that is a very mild take. I really do think that this Packers team is really good even without Aaron Rodgers, and I'm going to take them in primetime. The Raiders have not been a good primetime team this year and in previous years, so I'm going to take them. Take the Green Bay.
Yeah, I'm taking Packers easy here. I really don't like what I see out of that Raiders defense. Moving on to our next segment is the Joe's Knows top 5. You can see it right there. That is our consensus top 5. I'll go through the stats between everybody. The first are the 49ers unanimously. Everybody had them at number 1. And then the Chiefs, number 2. The highest person to put them was me. I had them at number 2. Not the worst thing, right?
No, I think that's okay.
Yeah, the lowest 4 out of a lot of people.
That
Bills, the high, the only person to put them at 2 is Dom. And then the low was 4 with multiple people did that.
Yeah.
This one's gonna get Matt going. Cowboys, their high was 2 by 3 people, but the reason they got down to 4 because their low was none. Guac did not put them on his top 5. And
I mean,
the Eagles
we
are
have
number
to-
5 with their high number 2. Guac had them at number 2. The Eagles. And the low was none by 3 people. Nobody had him. 3 people did not have him in their top 5. So
How do
if
you
you want to go
say-
back to the Cowboys.
How do you call the Eagles frauds, but then you rank them as number 2?
Because they are frauds, but they're number 2 at this point right now. See, here's my point. Here's why the Cowboys are not in the top or not in my top 5. The Dolphins are still better than them, I believe, Dom. I would move in this top 5. I would move the Eagles up to 4, and I'd slide the Dolphins in at 5 and boot the Cowboys out. They just lost
I
to
think
the
they're both in
Cardinals
the
by
top
double
5.
digits. I have absolutely zero faith in this Cowboys team. I still have my opinion from early in the season. Dak is not a good quarterback. I mean, this guy, he's terrible. I mean, I still have my opinions. Sure, he's had again, I think we all brought up the point they've played a very, very weak schedule. And this Cowboys team, they don't do it for me. They're not good. They just got blown out by the Cardinals.
Well, I don't understand. They don't do it for you. They sleptwalk through the Cardinals. Okay, like you gotta understand that happens sometimes. A road game against a Cardinals.
I mean, for a top 5
hold
team.
Hold on. You said this Cardinals team was tough. They played every single team. Every game they played this year. They played every team close. They sleptwalk through that game. Okay, they beat the Giants by 40 in East Rutherford. They put up 30.
It was
very
not really
good.
competition though. The Giants aren't any good.
30 points. They put 30 points on a very good Jets defense, and then they just beat the Patriots by 35. A very tough, very good defensive team that loves to control the time of possession. Very hard to beat them by a lot. I don't really understand how they're not listed in the top 5. It's beyond me.
Again, that Pats defense, Matt Judon and Christian Gonzalez both went down in that game, so there was a very, very weakened Pats defense. So again, I have my opinions. I do not think that this Cowboys team is very good. So I still wouldn't have them in my top 5. I'd still
How are they not
a Dolphins team. I still take a Dolphins team that had a rough loss against the Bills, who I put at number 2. I think that the Bills are a very, very good team, and I still think that I'd put the Dolphins in over the Cowboys.
So the Dolphins, right? I think they have looked way more fraudulent than the Cowboys. The Dolphins have beaten everyone by throwing the football. The first time they played a good defense who can run the ball, they got absolutely railed. They got destroyed by the Bills. I don't understand. How are the Dolphins not fraudulent?
I mean, the Cowboys lost to a way worse team by double digits.
Okay, it's 1 week. The Dolphins have not.
It's 1 week for the Dolphins too. It's the same thing. It's 1 week.
But it's 4 weeks because they have not beaten a good team all year. They put up points on the Chargers. They beat them in a shootout. Couldn't stop the Chargers at all. Beat them in a shootout. And the Chargers not a very good team. They beat the Patriots by 7. The same team the Cowboys beat by 35. They beat the Broncos. That was a blowout. We all know it. But the Broncos are, again, probably the worst team in the NFL. If not, maybe not the worst, definitely bottom 3, bottom 5. And then they got absolutely destroyed by the first decent defense they've seen all year. If you're going to call any team unproven, overrated, whatever, how is it not the Dolphins? That, to me, I just don't understand.
Yeah, I would love to hop in real quick. I think this is really a case on Jock's side of just underrating the Cardinals. I think, the Cardinals team, if they play the Giants 10 times, they'll win 7 times. I know the Giants did, win 28-31, but I think this is a very well coached Cardinals team. I think that what they've brought in and what they have and what the system that they're trying to follow right now, it is a winning program. I just think they don't have the pieces as in players. And I think that when when the draft picks start to come through, I think it's going to be a really good team.
And really quick, just before Rich hops in, I just want to say the Cardinals, they were in a 21-16 game against the 49ers in the fourth quarter. I mean, granted, the 49ers did pull away in garbage time. They added an extra touchdown with 2 minutes left. That was a 5-point game in the fourth quarter, right? They were in a dogfight with the Giants. Like, this is a very tough team. So to really, like, harp on the Cowboys for losing to them, I get it. It wasn't a good performance, but I don't think that derails their whole ranking status.
Yeah, I'm gonna really quickly, Guac. Your logic is pretty much if a team loses to a lesser team, like they're frauds. Like, do you realize like Chargers got beat in their own building by the Titans, Ravens got beat in their own building by the Colts. I mean, it happens. Like these good teams can lose to bad teams. It just does not make them frauds.
I get that. And I didn't say that's the only reason why. Again, I still believe Dak's turnovers are going to start going up. Once again, he's playing a tough Niners team this week. I think they're going to get blown out this week once again. I think, again, the Niners are a very tough team. But I just don't think this Cowboys team is good. Micah Parsons is a great player. But I mean, Trayvon Diggs and that injury really scares me in that secondary. I just don't think this Cowboys team is going to be very good the rest of the season.
So I just want to touch. So you said that's not the only reason. Trayvon Diggs scares you. They gave up 3 points last week, their first game without Trayvon Diggs. So I don't
against
really
a bad offense. A very
against
bad
the bad offense that the Dolphins gave up 17 to. 3 points against any offense in the NFL is very tough. Dak Prescott, I mean, we touched on, again, top 10 in QBR. He has 1 turnover this year. I just don't really understand how they're not in the top 5.
All right, moving on to our fantasy segment after that heated debate. We're going to our buy low players before we get to our sell high. We'll go with buy low first. Matt, if you want to go first here.
My buy low guy is going to be none other than Garrett Wilson. He's a top 10 receiver in the league easily, talent-wise. And obviously, he was going to have a big year with Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers went down. But Zach Wilson appears to be figuring it out. He's a huge red zone threat. Already has 2 touchdowns on the year, and he has 14 targets last game once Zach Wilson started to hit his stride. So he's a clear number 1 option for Zach. The Jets need to throw it if they want to establish any sort of offense. So Garrett Wilson is 100% the guy I would buy low.
Yeah, my buy low here. I'm going to be taking Isaiah Pacheco, and it's a little bit of a weird situation coming off of, an RB6 game having 24.8 points. I mean, he had a ridiculous game getting 20 carries for 115 yards and touchdown. But to me, that was almost kind of, in a way, a preview of what the rest of the season should look like. He went against, one of the best rushing defenses to start the season so far against Detroit. And when he faced teams like Chicago and the Jets, he exploded, having 2 very good fantasy games. From now on, he doesn't play a defense that is within the top 20 in rushing yards allowed per game. They're all very, very weak teams. He's playing on a Chiefs team that is going to be, outscoring teams by a lot. He's the workhorse on this team. He's getting a lot of carries, getting a big load, and he's producing a lot more than he was last year. He's looking like a very, very, very solid RB2.
My buy low this week is going to be Javonte Williams. I think for obvious reasons, coming off that injury, I think that he's had more time to get back and more comfortable in his shoes with his role in the Denver Broncos. I think that he's going to be that workhorse back that we did see him before the ACL injury. And a lot of people I really think are just like disregarding how good this guy was before he got hurt. So I think you got to pick up Javonte Williams while you can.
For my buy low, I'm gonna do Kirk Cousins. He balled out first 3 games, had a bad game. You got to buy him low while you can. I mean, he's most passing attempts in the league, and they're going to keep it that way. And then they're going to sling the rock, every which way, and he's gonna ball out.
Yeah, my buy low, similar to Matt, is Chris Olave. He has not scored a touchdown this year, and even with Michael Thomas back, he is still the number 1 target on the Saints offense. The touchdowns are going to come. The yards are going to come. So I'd say buy him low now.
Yeah, and I'm also going with the receiver. I'm going with Christian Watson. Jordan Love this season has been throwing the deep ball 3rd most in the league and is number 4 in big-time pass plays. And Watson coming back from injury was the deep threat all last year with Rodgers. Had a touchdown last game. I expect him to get him at a buy low status right now and for him to have a very good season for those Packers. We're going to move on to the sell high players. Matt, you can go first.
Yeah, I think this is probably the most obvious pick. I'm going to take Puka Nacua. Obviously, it's an incredible story but he's very highly unlikely to keep it up. He's playing at a historic pace. It's just not going to stay that way. I mean, teams are now going to be game planning versus him, which is something he's never seen in his career because he kind of came out of nowhere as a rookie. And then obviously Cooper Kupp is coming back, and that's going to be the biggest thing that's going to be the detriment for him. So although it's a great story, I think he's going to be great the rest of the year, but just definitely not at the same status he is right now.
And I'm going to be honest, this is a pretty lazy pick. And the only reason that I'm saying that this guy's a sell high is because I just don't believe that this is going to happen for us this season. Adam Thielen has had 3 very, very dominant weeks. He has 287 receiving yards on the year, having a very, very, very good season with Bryce Young over in Carolina. I don't think it's going to happen. I think, the other wide receivers haven't seen much action at all. I think they're going to try to spread the ball out as Bryce Young becomes more comfortable in that offense, try to find more playmakers down the field rather than just across and across the middle of the field to Adam Thielen. I also don't think that the old guy could keep up this rate of production.
Yeah, I think mine's a little bit of a pretty obvious pick too. I mean, James Conner has been dominating the fantasy scene so far throughout the season. I mean, Jonathan Gannon has talked about lessening his role as he's getting older. His snap share went down 20% this week from week 3 to week 4. And then the rookie out of TCU, Imari DeMarcado, is starting to get some of the third down and the longer down work for that Arizona Cardinals offense. So James Conner's production and his ceiling isn't going to be as high the rest of the season as it was in the first 3 to 4 games. So I really think you got to get rid of James Conner while he still has a lot of value.
My sell high is actually currently proving me wrong right now, but I'm going to stick with it. Justin Fields, last game, obviously it was his best game by far. And, tonight, as we, record this, he's playing and he's doing very well. But I just don't think this Bears team is good at all, and I don't think he's gonna keep doing how he's doing.
Yeah, my sell high is actually Derrick Henry. He is obviously aging, especially for a running back. He's going into a split backfield, and he just came off of a game where I think he scored close to 30 full PPR points. Sell high.
Yeah, for my sell high, I'm going to go with Raheem Mostert. The guy's 31 years old, and he's been injured prone for the past 3 years. He's not really a sustainable running back in that Dolphins offense. And last game, his snap share was a season low. Last game, he had 43%, splitting it with Devin Achane. And as Achane is getting better each game, the rookie, I expect Raheem Mostert to go worse and worse with snap share throughout the season. And that'll do it for our sell high players. Moving on to our last segment. It's an overreaction or not. Matt, if you want to take this one over and say what the prompts are.
Yeah, so the first one is going to be number 1, Zach Wilson and the Jets will make the playoffs despite a 1-3 start. Should we just tackle that now, or should I go down to 3?
Yeah, tackle that now.
So, I mean, I'll kick us off here. I think it's not an overreaction. The Jets defense is already elite. They have weapons all over the offense, great weapons. Breece Hall, we got Dalvin Cook, even though he's aging, Garrett Wilson, obviously. Zach Wilson just outplayed Mahomes last week and should have won the game versus the defending Super Bowl champions. There was some of the worst refereeing I've ever seen in my entire life. They have somewhat of an easy schedule up ahead. The division games are tough, but out of the division, it's really nothing too crazy. So I think the Jets can definitely hold on and win 10 games and sneak into the playoffs.
My easy answer is no. But I will give the Jets the benefit of the doubt. If the Jets lose to the Broncos, I would just sell the team.
Wow. I'm going to agree and disagree with Matt now. I think that the Jets are going to be a lot better than a lot of people expected, but I don't think they can make the playoffs just because of how tough this division is. A good Dolphins team and a good Bills team, I still think, are both better than them. Without Rodgers being there, you lose so much of your offense with him not being on the field. So I think that the Jets could win, I'll say 7 games. I think that that's very reasonable. I think they'll be a lot better than people thought, but no, I don't think they can make the playoffs.
Yeah, I think this is an overreaction. Zach Wilson has only had one good half throughout this whole entire season, and I just don't believe in him at all. That's not enough to make me think that he's gonna be producing the whole entire season.
Yeah, I mean, as a Jets fan, of course, I think they could definitely make the playoffs. And honestly, the reason I do think it is because the AFC is not as good as people think. The AFC North, outside of the Ravens, there's not that big of a contender right now to make the playoffs. AFC South, there's nobody sustainable enough outside of the Jaguars to make it. And then you have the Chargers. I mean, not really the greatest of the AFC West either. And then that's left with the three teams in the AFC East that could definitely, you can see the Jets slipping into the playoffs if Zach Wilson continues to play like he did on Sunday Night Football. But if he doesn't and he turns back to his old self, it'll be quick and easy. Jets are not going to make the playoffs and they're going to tank for one of those O tackles.
Yeah, I don't think this is an overreaction. I mean, obviously, there's a bunch of great pieces on the Jets. I mean, we saw Zach Wilson, what he can do. I mean, is he going to keep doing what he did in that second half? Probably not, but Aaron Rodgers is actually expecting to return by the end of the season. And I think that if the Jets are in a good enough spot, Aaron Rodgers can propel them to a playoff spot.
Yeah, so now the second prompt that we have right now is CJ Stroud will win Offensive Rookie of the Year and the Texans will win the AFC South. I'll go first. I think it's a slight overreaction. CJ Stroud is the clear-cut Offensive Rookie of the Year. I've been on it all year. He's been fantastic. That being said, the defense on the Texans, the supporting cast, it's going to hold them back eventually. And the Jags, I think they'll find their footing just like last year, and they'll have a big second half of the season and eventually win the division. It's a great story. I don't really love the supporting cast for CJ Stroud. I think he's a lock for Offensive Rookie of the Year. I just don't know if they're going to win the South.
And I'm actually gonna spin this here. I'm gonna say, well, obviously not. None of this is gonna happen. If this was true, this is a complete overreaction. CJ Stroud is playing like a very good passer, but it's not gonna be a persistent thing. And I do want to just add something. I did want to, I apologize, missed the last show. I couldn't debate about this, but I believe CJ Stroud is an elite quarterback. I believe he's an elite rookie quarterback, but I do believe that a lot of his success is a little bit the team that he's been kind of surrounded by the surrounding cast. I feel like he's getting a little bit of the Daniel Jones treatment from last year, where basically he's had a lot of his routes dumped off. I don't have exactly on hand right now. If you give me a sec, I could flip to it, but I believe at least 65 or something percent of CJ Stroud's passes have been, before 10 or more yards. He really hasn't extended the ball too much. He has found, I will admit, him, Nico Collins and him have been elite so far across the deep, in the deep middle part of the field. They've been a solid connection, but so far Tank Dell and the other slot receiver they have, it's been a very, very short concept. I don't think he's been, an elite talent so far. I think that he's played the quarterback position at elite level.
I mean, I think we can all agree Tom Brady's the greatest player of all time, and I don't think he was an elite talent at the quarterback position. He threw a lot of the checkdowns. He made the right decisions. That being said, I think CJ Stroud is an elite talent at quarterback. I mean, 1,200 yards, that speaks for itself. 6 touchdowns, no picks. Not many quarterbacks can say that. Actually, only 2 other quarterbacks can say that. Brock Purdy, Justin Herbert have 0 picks on the year. I really don't understand how he's not going to win Rookie of the Year. He looks like one of the best quarterbacks in the league this year so far. He's 4th in passing yards, 0 interceptions, 6 touchdowns, like I said, with absolutely 0 offensive line. And he's pretty much single-handedly carrying his team to big wins over a tough Steelers defense, and then out-dueled the Trevor Lawrence and the Jags. So I think it's pretty clear that CJ Stroud is the Offensive Rookie of the Year.
And Matt, I want to back you up completely on both points, not even just the CJ Stroud Rookie of the Year, on both points in this take. So I believe that CJ Stroud will win the Rookie of the Year. I mean, shout out Ben Chadwick. I mean, the Panthers are still kicking themselves for not taking CJ Stroud at 1. Bryce Young has looked absolutely terrible. I was with you. I said Stroud should have went 1, and I think we would all believe it now that he should have went 1. And I agree with you about the Jags as well. I think they'll find their footing. I think they will win the AFC South, but the Texans could definitely keep the division close. I mean, CJ Stroud really has looked that good of a quarterback to me, so I'm going to completely agree with Matt here.
I feel like this is a pretty underrated division. I think CJ Stroud could definitely win, Offensive Rookie of the Year, but I don't think the Texans will win the AFC South. Jaguars have been off to a slow start. As Matt said before, I think they eventually will, pick it up. And the Colts have not looked bad at all. Anthony Richardson is playing great. They just got Jonathan Taylor. And the Titans haven't even been bad either. They just beat the Bengals. That's not saying a lot, but I have confidence in those other teams.
All right, so I just want to hop back in and make my pick, and I do want to say that I was going to go with the bandwagon in the Colts, and I'm not going to say that. And I do believe that Anthony Richardson is going to win the Offensive Rookie of the Year. He has barely been on the field, and every time he's been on the field has been elite. Real quick, I do have the numbers here. It's Robert Woods and Tank Dell. It is, I mean, it was 25 of 46 passes so far were underneath. That was I believe the first 2 or 3 games. And real quick, just to go back to your Tom Brady comparison, Tom Brady was able to, master the quarterback release and getting the ball out quickly. CJ Stroud, I believe that, as a rookie, he's doing an elite job at it. But I feel that I just also, I don't really want to take too much away from CJ Stroud. More give credit to what the Texans have done offensively and aiding to his progression throughout the early years. So, yes, he's been very elite. And you know what? I think it's good between Stroud and Richardson because I also think that what Shane Steichen has done coming from the Eagles for the Colts has been ridiculous. I think Anthony Richardson hasn't even, fully pressed down the gas pedal. I think when he fully gets going, when Jonathan Taylor's back, I think there's a chance that this offense could blow up against a not too tough schedule in the second half. I think this Colts offense might have a chance to win the AFC South if the Jaguars do fully sputter off. But I think it's a tough race between Stroud and Richardson.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with half of this statement. I think CJ Stroud will win Offensive Rookie Year. I don't think Richardson's fully in it. We've seen in the passing game right now. He's still in the bottom half of the league in QBR and just passing grades overall. His rushing has definitely looked amazing. We expected that coming out of college. But if the passing is not good right now, I don't expect it to get any better this year. He's going to progress throughout his career, but this year is just not a moment where Anthony Richardson is going to take over or win the Offensive Rookie of the Year. And for me, it's between Stroud and Bijan. And with how Arthur Smith uses Bijan, he's been using him better lately. But still, he has Tyler Algier in that backfield. I think it's going to hold him back and not let him win the Offensive Rookie of the Year. I think CJ Stroud has looked amazing. And Texas win the AFC South, it's hard to believe. Of course, everybody thinks like the Jaguars are falling off. I still think they're an amazing team. Colts, I don't really find them too much into the mix, especially with that secondary. It's just looked honestly non-existent throughout this whole year.
Yeah, I would agree. Stroud will win Offensive Rookie of the Year, but they will not win the AFC South. Once teams have a folder on Stroud, I think that he's going to be more figured out. And they're eventually going to slow him down. I mean, obviously, he's taken the league by storm, being very productive on what was seen as a weak Texans offense.
Yeah, so the last prompt that we have for today is the Giants are the biggest dumpster fire in the NFL, meaning they have no future and they have zero ability to win in the present. Like just the worst organization to be a fan of right now. So I'll let Guac go first here because he is the Giants fan.
So I'm going to say I agree with this take about 80 to 85%. Now, I believe that this Giants team is absolutely horrid. Now, I mean, me and Matt have talked about this. I think in the coming weeks, we've more and more realized Daniel Jones is not the problem with the New York Giants. It is the absolute horrid offensive line and the absolute horrid weapons he has around him. Daniel Jones is not a great quarterback, but he's definitely not a bottom 5 quarterback in the league. If you put him in any other system, he can succeed. If you put him in Brock Purdy's role in the Niners, they can be maybe as good, if not maybe a little bit worse. I mean, this line that Daniel Jones, one of the most sacked quarterbacks in the league. If you watch that Seahawks game, he was under pressure all night, and the Seahawks are not a great pass rush team. They're not that great. So, I mean, I don't think that the Giants are the worst. I mean, I still think the Denver Broncos' future is absolutely horrid as well. And there's a couple other teams at the bottom of the barrel. But for sure, the Giants should definitely be in that running. I mean, this team really is. Right now, they're an absolute dumpster. They just made the playoffs last year, and they look like a bottom 5 team in the NFL to start off the year right now. So I really think that the Giants' future and the present is not great by any means.
Now, but I do think that they have a future, and I just disagree. Daniel Jones can't play dead in a horror movie. He is not that guy.
I didn't say he was that guy. I'm just saying he's capable. But if you watch how bad, I mean, Andrew Thomas, who's one of the best tackles in the league, was out against that game. Evan Neal, who was supposed to be a great draft pick, has looked absolutely horrid. I mean, this offensive line is just absolutely terrible. I think it's the worst in the league.
I agree with Richie. I think the Giants are absolutely terrible. I wouldn't. If I'm Saquon and I'm leaving, I'm never coming back. I mean, Kayvon Thibodeau has not looked good at all this year, and there's just no faith for them at all.
I'm going to agree. I think they're undoubtedly the biggest dumpster fire in the NFL right now. I really don't think it's very close, to be completely honest with you. They just have holes in every single position. They have the worst group in the NFL without a doubt. It's looking like they might have the worst offensive line in the NFL without a doubt. And they signed Daniel Jones, who I agree is not necessarily the problem. They signed him to a 4-year, $160 million deal. So that is your franchise guy, point blank, period. You're paying a guy who's, I would say, is a mediocre quarterback, $40 million a year to quarterback a terrible team. I really don't understand how this team has any direction whatsoever. They have no wiggle room at all in free agency. I don't get it.
Yeah, I mean, as I just tipped my cap to Bobby Slowick, the new Houston Texans offensive coordinator, I got to give the same credit to the Giants and Brian Daboll and what he did last year for the Giants. The success from Daniel Jones was clearly from the situation he was put in. They ran a very, very successful offense with Daniel Jones under center, and he was able to run it very successfully. This year, it's not the same situation. The offensive line, no excuses, is embarrassing. I mean, up and down, they have 6 guys on the line who are terrible. Evan Neal, I mean, I'm happier flipping burgers and cooking hot dogs than playing football like Evan Neal, because he is one of the worst tackles I've ever watched play the sport. And this Giants team is bad. Do I think they're the biggest dumpster fire ever? No, because they didn't trade a first-round pick for a guy who does Subway commercials and a retired coach. No, they're not that bad of a franchise because the Broncos exist. But if there weren't the Broncos, the Giants would be right there up next to them.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's 1A, 1B for me. I think it's between Giants and Broncos. Broncos might actually just absolutely no future in that team. Still a little bit of present, unlike the Giants. The thing about the Giants is that it looks like they had a future before the year. Xavier McKinney was a very good safety, and he has not looked good to start off the season. Deonte Banks started off the season well. Then DK Metcalf just had a field day against him, so now he's trending down. Of course, Evan Neal, like Will just said, I mean, that's one of the worst things you could do in New York media. You cannot talk bad about the fans. I don't care where you are, especially in New York. That's something you could just not do, and that's one of the worst things you could do as a Giants player. Andrew Thomas not looking the greatest in that receiving core. Jalen Hyatt, nothing really seen from him. And then John Michael Schmitz just got hurt. Hasn't looked good as well to start the season. So, in my opinion, I think they are 1A, 1B with the Broncos of the biggest dumpster fire in the franchise in the NFL. That'll do it for us here for Joe's Nose NFL episode 7. You can follow us on TikTok, SJ Sports Shows. We're dropping a lot of TikToks there. Please follow it. Please repost and comment. Matt is working very hard on them. So that'll do it for us. For Matt Freeman, Will Krakowski, me, Jack Kemler, Jock Imperiale, Richard Zengard, Dom Rafina. Thanks for watching.